Hey, welcome. Sometimes you look at an old black and white photograph and it's not just a picture, is it? It's it's like a time machine. Well, today we're going to fire one up and take a quick trip back to a place called Hooe in Turnchapel. We're going to see just how much a landscape can change, sometimes right under our very feet.
So that's the big question, right? What stories can a place actually tell us if we just look close enough? Because these old photos, they're not just snapshots. Nope, they are clues. Clues to a world that's pretty much vanished, packed with stories about how people lived, how they worked, even how they got around. All right, let's get into it.
So first up, we're getting a bird's eye view. We're going to start our little tour from way up high, looking down on the area just like a bird would have, decades ago. It's the best way to get the lay of the land before we really zoom in on the juicy details.
Wow, okay, here we are. Just take a second to soak this in. It's this incredible panoramic view. See that building right there in the middle distance? That's Hooe School. And just in front of it, you've got the waters of Hooe Lake. Then, way off in the background, you can just make out that little cluster of buildings. That's Turnchapel. It just feels so open, so spacious, doesn't it? It's like a whole different world with this really rustic countryside vibe.
And here's a little detail that just blew my mind. The source material tells us that those big open fields you see right in the front of the picture, well, they weren't just empty land. They were pastures. A Mr. Sherrill and a Mr. Harris used to graze their cattle right there. I mean, just try to picture that now, with all the houses and roads that cover that same ground. It's wild. That one sentence, it just perfectly sums up that massive shift from a rural way of life to a suburban one. And get this, there's another piece of the puzzle here, something you can't even really see in the photo. There used to be a manually operated railway swing bridge connecting Orriston to Turnchapel. So it's not in the shot, but just knowing it was there adds this whole other layer, right? I mean, can you imagine the sheer physical work involved? Someone had to literally crank that bridge open by hand every time a train needed to pass. That just paints such a vivid picture of a different time, a whole different pace of life. All right, so we've seen it from above. Now let's get our feet on the ground. We're heading down from the hills, right to the water's edge. This is where the real action was, where everyday life would have been absolutely buzzing with activity, all dictated by the rise and fall of the tide. And check this out. This picture just says it all, doesn't it? It shows you how deeply connected the village was to the water. When the tide was high, the lake came right up to the main road. Seriously, you can almost feel the water lapping just a few feet from the buildings. This wasn't some pretty backdrop. It was a working part of the community. Boats were probably as common as horse-drawn carts back then. So the change here is just massive. Let's really break down the difference between then and now. Back then, you had water coming right up to the main road, which, by the way, was partly made of wooden planks. Think about that. Local boat owners could literally pull their boats up right near the Royal Oak Pub. And now, today, that whole area is a village green. The water is just gone. It's been replaced by solid ground. It's a complete transformation of the landscape itself. And here's the year it all happened. 1964. That's the moment. That's when this part of the lake was filled in for good. It's this one specific point in time where a future that had defined the community for generations was just erased. And it's a really powerful reminder that these huge landscape-altering changes, they often happen within living memory. Okay, so for our last stop, we're doing a complete 180. We've seen the area from the hill, we've seen it from the lakeside. Now we're going to flip our whole perspective and look back at where we started, but from the other side of the water, from the Turnchapel side. And here it is. This final photo really ties everything together. So now we're standing on the opposite shore looking back over towards Higher Hooe. And what's really fascinating is that the spot where this photo was taken was once an old quarry, a place of heavy industry, which has since been totally repurposed and is now hidden away. This view just gives you such a great sense of the rolling hills and the woods that used to just dominate the whole skyline. So let's just lay it out side by side. The then is all about open fields stretching up the hillside, with an active quarry carved into the landscape. It's a mix of natural and industrial. And the now? Well, that same piece of land is used for parking, but it's all been hidden away, softened, and covered over with earth and grass. All that ruggedness has been literally smoothed over, reshaped to fit what we need today. So, when you put all three of these views together, what's the story they tell? It's so much more than just a few new buildings popping up here and there. We've literally watched fields turn into neighborhoods, a lake turn into a park, and an industrial quarry become, well, something else entirely. It really is a story of constant evolution.
And that really is the heart of it, isn't it? Every place is a story, written in these different layers of earth and concrete and, of course, memory. The specific story of Hooe and Turnchapel is one of a kind, sure, but the process itself, that's happening everywhere. Every town, every city, every single neighborhood is constantly being rewritten, updated. These layers of change are all around us, usually hidden right there in plain sight.
Which really just leaves us with one last question to think about. I want you to take a look around where you live. What fields that you know of are now full of houses? What old railway lines have become bike paths or walking trails? What stories are just waiting there, in your own backyard, waiting to be rediscovered? Maybe just by looking at an old photograph. Thanks so much for joining me on this little trip.